aren't you worth it? Isn't your life worth it? Isn't your family um, important enough for you to always ensure that you're on top of your life, that you're living it purposefully, and ensuring that the professionals you deal with are living it purposefully?
Welcome to Give a Heck. I am your host, Dwight Heck, and for much of my life, lived my life in quiet desperation, wondering how I was going to pay the bills, take vacations, save for retirement, and one day wondering if I would get off the hamster wheel of life and have purpose. A life that most of society lives, which takes us to work, then home, then repeat, and pays us hopefully enough just to survive. The harsh truth that most live with more month than money and have no idea how to live life on purpose, not by accident. This ensures the mass majority are living not just financially broke, however emotionally and mentally as well due to financial pressures. In each episode, I will introduce you to thoughts, ideas, and guests that can help you to learn how you too can live life on purpose, not by accident.
Good day, and welcome to Give a Heck. On today's solo episode, I'm going to be discussing professionals in careers, and I'm talking all forms of careers, from doctors, accountants, lawyers, engineers, people in my industry, any industry where you should, but don't necessarily stay on top of the game as things evolve and change within your industry, yet you're still dealing with clients, you're still dealing with individuals. It doesn't even have to be a group of people, that you're giving them information that is outdated and the consequences of how it affects them. And I'm going to be discussing how many times it's happened in my life, not necessarily every time, but some of the more impactful situations of where a professional who didn't stay on top of their game cost me. Where did they cost me? They could have cost me emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, or really all of them, depending on the circumstance. Have you personally dealt with anybody in your life? And how many times have you dealt with people in your life that have given you information that is incorrect and it has cost you in any of the areas that I just mentioned? The reason I wanted to have this podcast is, once again, it happened to me this week. I'll talk about the most recent incident and then dial in some of the former ones. And anybody that is listening to this podcast, reach out to me. Let's have a discussion. Put a comment on whatever platform you're watching. Listening to. If you're watching on YouTube, put a comment there, ask questions. Let's have a discussion about the issues with professionals not staying on top of their game and just getting into a mode of coasting where they're camping in life and they've forgotten how to climb and how to stay on top. I will add, in my industry, in the financial insurance industry where I live, we are required to get CE credits, or what's called continuing education credits. And people think, well, that's good enough, Dwight, just to get those credits to stay up on the game. Well, the problem is you go and get these credits. You need so many hours per license that I have. I have to get so many hours of credits, and I get to choose which courses I want. Well, guess what? How many people do you think in my industry take the easy way out and take the easiest courses, or take ones that they've taken the year before, but from a different provider, so it has a different ID number? They take the easy way out. They're not taking courses that actually up their game, that make them a better provider of their products or services. And I pride myself in attempting. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes there's just not enough available, and I have to take stuff that I've taken before, which in some regards is good because there's changes within those that part of my industry or a product or service. But then if I have to, I ensure I take it from somebody different. I make sure I go through the course outline to make sure it's going to actually teach me something it's worthwhile, that it's going to level my game up. It's going to give my clients a better experience in dealing with me, that they're going to be getting the current up-to-date information. So does it take a little bit of effort? Absolutely, it does. on an average year, I'm required to get X amount of hours, and I usually spend double that just to ensure that I'm doing the right things, learning the right things to again ensure that my business is always on the climb, just like I am in my own life. So here's what happened. Well, in the spring of 2024, for those that may be listening to this later on, maybe this is evergreen for you and it's a couple years later, I lost my family doctor. And I've had this doctor for over 30 plus years. Absolutely love the man. He's been so kind to me and my family and helped me through so many challenges in my life. But what we found, it's not just me, a few of my kids that have seen him over the years stopped seeing him and started going to other doctors, is the fact that he necessarily was always listening to what was going on, but he didn't necessarily have all the best information to give us. He wasn't necessarily staying on top of his game and having the right information to give to myself or my family, because my kids seen him since they were little, and he was just like a he was just he's still alive. He's a great man. He's now retired, like I said, and I always took what he had to say to me as de facto standard, not thinking, well, Dwight, in your industry and other industries, professionals aren't necessarily staying on top of their game. But you, like me, do we not get comfortable in life? I know I got comfortable in life and I just trusted everything he was saying. And obviously, the information he was giving me was what he believed to be true and correct. But there was other alternatives. There was other things that I could have done throughout my, 30 plus years of dealing with him. Again, he was a great, great doctor to the family, but there were certain things that he did not give us his information because of his lack of knowledge or his lack of not being camped and continuing to climb in life. So what happened was he retired. Well, if anybody in the US, Canada, or around the world is experiencing what we're experiencing here, there's a shortage of doctors, medical staff in general, for people running in labs, um, x-ray clinics, blood draw clinics, labs. Like as I mentioned, just every part of the medical industry is suffering in Canada, and it is suffering in other countries as well. I talked to a lot of people about it. It's not hard to Google and find out as well. But regardless of that, shortage of doctors. So I had to go and start on a journey to find a new doctor. Isn't that fun? Not really. I know people that have waited up to a couple of years, depending on which province you live in. One of my daughters lives in a province next door to us and literally waited over 2 years to get a doctor. So I found a doctor relatively quickly. I was lucky based on other people in my province or in my city that are still struggling. I was lucky enough that another daughter of mine that lives local to where I live in Edmonton was accepting new patients. So I went on the waiting list. So he was accepting people to go on a waiting list, not necessarily be a patient of his. And I was blessed and highly favored about a month ago to have an interview with him. We clicked, he accepted me, and then proceeded to book an appointment to get my yearly physical. When you hit a certain age, male, female, you should be getting a physical every single year. Just my opinion. I'm not a medical doctor, but I just feel, I've had so many people in my um, practice, in my lifetime, family, friends, clients that have passed away or run into challenges or circumstances that could have been dealt with quicker had they gone to a doctor, at least gotten a physical, or if they weren't feeling well, went to the doctor instead of just always, oh, it's this and that, self-diagnosing themselves. And I just had that circumstance happen as well with a family member. And thank goodness they didn't perish because of it. I won't get into the details of what it was, but you know, quit those that think that doctors aren't important, they are important. A good doctor is hard to find, though. I'm not saying there's that the majority aren't good, but a good doctor that stays on top of things and is really on his game. So this week I went in and had my physical. This doctor is a younger doctor. I'm guessing he's probably in his mid 40s. Very kind, very knowledgeable. And we started going through my medical history at my physical and discussing what I've had treated over my life with some of the issues I face. Those of you that have been listening to me for a while know I have degenerative spine disease, as well as I have scoliosis, and I have rotator cuff issues. And all of it compounds to cause me a lot of discomfort. And as I'm discussing this with my doctor, the doctor says to me, "Well, how long have you been getting treated for it?" And I told him how many years for each individual area, and he was dumbfounded, jaw dropped. He said, "Seriously? Some of these issues, they're just treating you as it bothers you. So they're helping you get alleviate the discomfort and pain temporarily, but they're not strengthening you and helping you so that you don't have to continue to go get treated." And he says that shouldn't be the case. And he was visibly upset about it. And within moments, he gave me some things to try and things that are going to help me move forward and open my eyes up to the fact that professionals can get stuck in a rut. So, why do I say that? Well, twofold. The doctor who I've been seeing for 30 plus years um, didn't necessarily give me the information he had given me about taking different things to help me because I also have borderline osteoporosis. And I'm not telling you any of this stuff to make you feel sorry for me. It is life. We get hit with things when we age, and it is just a fact. It's just how do you proceed forward? Well, you look for somebody to mentor or coach you, and that is a good doctor in regards to your physical health, even your mental health. And even in my industry, you got to find somebody that's good, that's going to coach and mentor you, stays up on their game. Same thing with accountants, etc., even lawyers. So he gave me a great information about something I could do to alleviate some of the challenges of that. He gave me some information to help with some other physical ailments, which I won't get into. And it was just a giant eye opener for me because my doctor that I've been seeing for 30 plus years, we had conversations, and I had to think back in the first 15, 20 years of dealing with him. He was great. He was always new stuff. But in his last part of his career here, before he retired in his late 60s, he literally was comfortable, didn't necessarily give a good advice in the sense of, "Oh, well, this is what I've heard. Let's try this, just try that." He was doing what a lot of GPs now do in North America. They refer you to a specialist. Well, in a medical care system that is broken, you can be waiting for months, if not years, to see specialists in Canada, the US, around the world. And, so I didn't necessarily question it because I was comfortable, as I mentioned. Just like him, he was comfortable. So what's the moral of this? Get a second opinion if you're having some challenges. There's nothing wrong with it. Yes, second opinions are really hard when it's hard to get a first doctor, let alone a second. But if you can, especially if it's something really serious, try to do that. So I ended up learning a lot of information. Now I'm going to question and get some better advice, hopefully, from um, the medical professionals and the physio and even the chiro industry that have been helping me. And I'm not going to pinpoint which was the one that wasn't helping me grow to strengthen so that I wouldn't have to see them. But, even massage, there's three industries I've been utilizing for many years: physiotherapy, chiropractor, and massage to just get by. But all of them are just, when you look at it, band-aids. They're just treating circumstances and situation. One of the three, though, which is relatively new in my life, gave me lots of great information this last year to help me and been very, very supportive. And I'll be forever grateful to him. Again, what's the clue there? He's a younger guy, and it isn't the age, it's his passion for what he does. And he wants to make sure he's always on top of his game. The other individual didn't necessarily, intend to not help and support me, but he took over from another professional and was just doing the same thing. He probably assumed I had been given all this information and to try and do, but I wasn't. So even as a younger individual, he dropped the ball. He should have literally had an intake with me when he took over and went through everything. And again, he wasn't doing it intentionally, but even if things aren't done intentionally, it does not mean that it hasn't harmed someone, right? So I ended up getting some great information, on a path now where I feel a lot more better about things, have a lot more hope. I'm a person that has, for years since I was younger, suffered from anxiety and depression. And some of it is because of lack of good information and lack of good support. A 30-minute appointment with this doctor this week gave me hope. It gave me something I hadn't had for a long time because I had been told all this information that wasn't necessarily true any longer. Or maybe some of it wasn't even true when it was told to me because they're just painting everything with one brush. And that is not something that is conducive to keeping people um, with hope and feeling happy. So it was a blessing for me. Again, you don't have to, but I'm a Christian. I believe in God, and I believe God, with the praying I had done, directed me to finding that new doctor, using my daughter as a vessel to say, "Hey, Dad, this doctor's accepting new patients for interview to see if he'll take you on." And didn't have to wait very many months. And now look where I'm at. I feel better about things. I'm moving forward. Just a great experience, and so blessed to have somebody that literally stays on top of the game. We talked about even the fact that, again, those that have listened to me before, I take CBD. Seen another doctor for that about 3 years ago in regards to using medical CBD to help my discomfort and pain. And this doctor knew he right off didn't even hesitate. He knew these studies and he talked about the differences between using the product, how to use it, the ramifications of using it, and that it can cause side effects of things that I suffer from, like anxiety. After using it for a while, that can cause anxiety for people. Initially it can reduce your anxiety, but it can cause more anxiety. At least in me, that's what we discovered after our conversation, that it's something that you can't de facto standard say that's one of the problems, but it could be compounding and helping the issue of my anxiety. So I'm going to wean myself off and see what happens. Again, I'm not saying people that are taking CBD right now that you shouldn't continue to. You are a different person. Consult your medical professional, just like I just did. Consult your medical professional. Even though I had gotten what they call like a medical card, a green card uh, and trained on how to use CBD properly, that doctor did not talk to me necessarily about all the um, spin-off effects or the problems that can happen from taking the product, for certain individuals. Just like, when you take any form of prescription drug, or even it can be a natural product, a vitamin or a mineral or whatever, everybody's body treats everything differently. And that's why they have all these may cause this in one of 100 people, may cause this in one of a million people, is because it can, but it doesn't mean it's going to cause it for everybody. So I'm not knocking down the medical industry. I'm not knocking down my original doctor or the doctor that I went and seen for months to go through all the CBD stuff. All I'm saying is that do your research, know your facts, and ask good questions. Not just ask questions that, just to hear things to make you feel good. Ask good questions, good answers. If you still don't understand, ask again. Anyway, so from that point forward, that was a circumstance where a medical professional didn't necessarily give me the guidance and direction that if I had had a different doctor already 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have gotten different information and spent a different amount of time and energy and been on a different course, on a different road, a different, health direction on my health journey, had I had known that information. And just as an addition, it would have saved me literally tens of thousands of dollars of seeking out treatment from those three areas I talked about to help me with the discomfort and pain. Again, it happened. I'm not going to dwell on it. I am going to talk to these professionals, see what their response is, and I'm going to move forward because it's about me. It's not about their feelings. It's not about them taking it the wrong way. It's about having a good conversation, asking great questions, and getting the response that I need to continue to move forward so I can live the rest of my life healthy, happy, and get back to doing what I miss so much, which is exercising, hiking, and so many other outdoor activities that I've put on the back burner for the last decade because of just getting band-aid treatment from everybody. So that being said, I mentioned some other people in professional careers and how they need to stay up on their game. Um, let's see now, to be three times in my life, I've had different accountants for my business and for my personal life that have done incorrect things for me and cost me money, cost me emotional and mental frustration. And it just wasted a bunch of my time. Remember, life's in session. This isn't a dress rehearsal. So when people waste your time, they literally take away something you can never get back ever, including the money that I spent and wasted, or the penalties I had to pay because of improper information that was given to me on their behalf and them filing. But I'm not sure how it is in your country. In our country, accountants aren't held responsible. And if you're an accountant, listen to this. This isn't to pick on you. You could be the best accountant. Maybe you do everything completely right. But unfortunately, I seem to sometimes in my life attract people that are really, a facade, polished, and they know how to use those $20 words and be really, you know, pretend to be professional, I guess would be the way to say it. Or, I trusted them. And throughout my life, I ended up back and now I have an amazing accountant. We talk all the time, have conversations about different things. I question him on stuff. The other accountant, I'd question him on stuff and he'd get upset. And I was going through some challenges in my life and I should have been more assertive about it, but I just trusted him and let things slide. And for the 10 plus years that he was my accountant, two different times I had challenges with um, revenue services. In Canada, it's Canadian Revenue Services. For your Americans, it's the IRS. And it cost me money. It cost me grief. It caused and no responsibility back on him for giving out improper information. Older accountant who maybe at the beginning of his career was on his game, knew all the tax law changes, read them up every single year because things change every single year in most countries. Little things will change here and there in regards to tax law and how um, personal, business, investment incomes are taxed and dealt with. And he was still using principles and stuff that were 7, 8 years old. And he triggered something because I questioned him about something and he changed it and on top of that, he filed my return without my signature. Didn't even get in trouble for that, which he should have. My corporate return, he triggered an audit on both my personal and my business, and I went through living hell. This was already quite a few years ago. And about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, can't think of the exact year. I think it was around 2019, 2018. And it was hell. Thank goodness the person and persons I was dealing with the tax department were kind, understood, but yet I had signed a form like everybody else does when you're dealing with these professionals, and it takes all liability away from them, which is a complete joke. In my industry, I have to have liability insurance. I am liable for everything I say and do for clients and can get in trouble for it, but not in the accounting industry. So those listening in government or those listening in the regulatory bodies, come on, let's make it a fair level playing field. If accountants give out information or cause their clients, irreparable grief and financial grief, they should be able to be held responsible. But unfortunately, right now, they are not. which is totally not fair. But that's beside the point at this moment. That person cost me a lot of grief because they did not stay on top of their professional game. The whole reason for this podcast. One more person didn't stay on top of their professional game and caused me money, caused me emotional and mental grief. So now we've gone through two circumstances. We've got the doctor, we've got an accountant, right? And there's so many more examples I could give. But I want to tell you this. When you get into whatever industry you're in, whether it's a career working for somebody else, whether you're an entrepreneur owning your own business, stay on top of your game. Make sure you're doing what's best for your clients. If you constantly keep focused on things because of the transaction part of it, or you're just outright lazy, you've gotten to a point where you just don't care. And well, it worked for me last year. It worked for me for the last 10 years. I'm going to continue to do the same thing. People will continue to come to me and I'll continue to make money. They'll get their whatever their product or service that they required, and we'll both be happy. That's not the case, right? There's a fallout from your choices, your decisions by not choosing to stay on top of your game. If you're somebody that's a coach, a mentor of anything, even in business, things can change in how business should be dealt with, how things can happen in development of business. And now you think about how businesses were coached or mentored. Man, it doesn't even have to be that long ago. 20 years ago, prior to explosive social media, right? Things were different. Now, 20 years later, things are different again. So if you're coaching a business on stuff and you're uncertain, be that honest person too and say, you know what, I can help you out in this, and this area, but this and that area, I'm going to have to refer you to somebody. Hopefully, you know somebody you can refer them to that's good. Like give them at least a couple referrals so that they can make an educated choice. But give people referrals. Don't say that you can do it all for people. I've dealt with business coaches. I've dealt with different coaches in my industry in regards to finance and insurance. I've dealt with coaches and mentors for social media. I've dealt with coaches and mentors for you name it. And at the end of the day, there's nobody out there that knows 100% of everything in their industry that they think they do, because I know I don't. There's things I can't coach people on, I can't help them with, and I refer them to other people. I stick within my wheelhouse. I'll say that again. Stay within your wheelhouse. I stick within my wheelhouse. You'll do what's right for people. You'll get known as a person that people can know, like, and trust, that you're trustworthy, and you'll give out the correct information, and you will make sure that people are well serviced. They'll always know that you're staying up in your game, that you're learning the right information, and you know that you all know all the current regulations, rules, and knowledge in order to help them live a purposeful life. What is give a heck? How to live life on purpose and not by accident, right? Living a purposeful, intentful life cannot just be done by ourselves, right? We need to have people that have input into our lives, that we listen to, that change our thought process, that challenge us to think differently. And if you don't, start looking, right? So I appreciate you listening to me. Again, this was off the cuff. There's probably some things that I might have added. Just can't think of them right now at the moment. Hopefully this brings you some attention to areas in your own life when it comes to professionals, and you starting to question, asking good questions again about what they're doing for you. Have they caused you any grief? Should I check out with some other people? Should I even use something like Google? You can Google stuff and check. I started doing that now. If I get told something by any former professional, yes, there's so much information on Google. I hear about that all the time. But aren't you worth it? Isn't your life worth it? Isn't your family important enough for you to always ensure that you're on top of your life, that you're living it purposefully, and ensuring that the professionals you deal with are living it purposefully? So if, like I asked my own guests that come on the show, if I had to give you one last closing message, right? Before I wrap up this podcast episode, it would be to be kind to yourself, not just be kind to others. Obviously, that's a given, but be kind to yourself, even if what you've listened to has caused you to trigger and think to yourself, oh my goodness, I guess I should do this. That's not a bad thing. Don't beat yourself up. Be kind to yourself. Go and talk to other people. Google and find out some people in your area. Make some phone calls. Send some emails. Ask people that you know, like, and trust for referrals in whatever avenue of your life it is, right? Whether it's medical, whether it's accounting, whether it's, you need a lawyer, engineer, etc. I won't even get into it. I just thought about another story in regards to circumstances where I've dealt with lawyers that aren't on their game. That could be another episode. But anyway, again, I'm not picking on any one profession. All I'm saying is if you're a person in those professions, hopefully you're staying on your game. If you're somebody listening to me that uses these professions or is about to use them, make sure you're asking good questions. Do your research. Don't be afraid to question. Be kind to yourself, though, throughout the whole process. Don't beat yourself up. And yes, at the end of the day, be kind to those around you. I appreciate you listening to Give a Heck. If you find value in this episode, I'd really appreciate you sharing it with your family, friends, your colleagues, and go on to the service that you're listening to and leave me a rating, right? Leave me a 5-star rating. That would be really good. If you aren't going to leave me a 5-star rating, reach out to me and say, well, this is why I'd never give you that. All right. I'd appreciate that so that I can up my game and continue to get better as a podcast host. And yeah, if you're watching it on YouTube, same thing. Give me a subscribe to it, subscribe to me on the podcast channels, leave me a comment. Yeah, just reach out. Let's have a conversation. I look forward to talking to you on the next episode of Give a Heck, and you have a fantastic rest of your 2024 year.
Thank you for taking time out of your day and listening to Give a Heck. If you find value, I'd appreciate you sharing with your friends and family so they too can learn how to live life on purpose, not by accident. So you do not miss the next episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and please also post a review. I look forward to reading your comments. This has been Dwight Heck. If you want to check out other podcast episodes or today's show notes, please check out my website, giveaheck.com. And until next time, together let us all strive to give a heck.